Hey folks, did you know that Card Player Poker offers free, legal poker games with no deposit required, where the players can win real money? The site is giving away 6 summer poker prize packages that include a $565 buy-in to the $1 million guaranteed live event in Las Vegas starting June 2nd, 2017, along with $500 for travel expenses. Go to poker.cardplayer.com for your chance to win. Again, that's poker.cardplayer.com for your shot to win a free poker package into a $1 million guaranteed live poker tournament this summer.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Once again, it's Poker Stories brought to you by Card Player. I'm your host, Julio Rodriguez. For those of you keeping track, this is episode number 10, so at least we can say that we hit double digits. Episode number 10 belongs to Nick Schulman, who is widely regarded as one of the top all-around players and regularly competes in some of the biggest cash games around. And although he doesn't play a lot of tournaments these days, he's done quite well in the past, racking up $8.3 million, along with a WPT title and 2 World Series of Poker bracelets. Nick is also crazy good at 10K Deuce to 7 events at the WSOP. Not only did he win it in both 2009 and 2012, but he also finished 5th in 2011, 4th in 2014, and runner-up in 2015. It didn't come up in the interview, but I thought it was some pretty interesting Schulman trivia that I could pass along. Anyway, here it is. My conversation with Nick Schulman. We are here with Nick Schulman. Nick the Takeover Schulman.
I know.
You still go by your online moniker ever?
You know, when I order coffee in the morning, I go down there, and when they ask for a name, that's no. Just Nick now. But yeah, if you like it, go for it. I'll take it.
Well, where did the Takeover come from?
That was my original online name, or one of them. It just seemed like a good handle, you know. I kind of liked it, and yeah, I just went with it.
It wasn't like a famous wrestler with that name, or
no, it was actually a Jay-Z song that I liked.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I was bumping a little Jay-Z at the time, and
that's way more respectable than
well, thank you,
after
you know,
a
from New
professional
York,
wrestler.
you know.
All right, well, let's get back to New York. Manhattan, born and raised.
Born and raised in Manhattan. Yep. Pretty much the heart of kind of New York City for most of my life was sort of where I grew up. We moved a bit around the city, but Manhattan based.
Yeah, people get the sense that city kids are a little bit more independent than our suburban counterparts.
Might be true. I've noticed that just when I meet sort of people from the suburbs or different walks of life, but it's tough to say because, you know, when you grow up one way, it's what you're used to. So,
well, I only asked that because skipping ahead to high school, you dropped out, and I heard that it took 8 months for your parents to notice.
It did.
How is that possible?
You know what it was? I went to a really big public high school, and they just didn't. They didn't really take attendance. They kind of you sort of were just expected to show up. The way they kept dibs on you was just sort of for tests and stuff. So I would show up occasionally for a test. I did just enough to squeak by, but finally they were like, you know, wow. It caught up to me. Somewhere my attendance was out there. So I don't really know what happened, but it was a while there where I was pretending that I was going, and I wasn't.
So you get up in the morning, you get dressed for school.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bye, Mom. I have a tough algebra test today.
You know,
and instead you go to the pool hall.
It's right. I would go to the pool hall. I mean, my parents are they're really fucking kind of cool people. So like, I mean, they, you know, not that the barometer of cool is encouraging your kid not to go to school or anything, but I know they knew a lot of days that I was off to the pool room, and they're pretty liberal. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, you know, they weren't too hard on me.
Well, let's go back to to the early days of high school, what were you getting into? What were you all about as a kid? Before the billiards took over.
Before billiards took over, yeah. I mean, I played trumpet. I got into school for trumpet. I went to a musical high school.
Wow, trumpet.
Yeah, but I was a little trumpet player.
How many years?
I played from like age 9 to more like 11. I started playing in middle school. We had a little band, in middle school, and then played until I was about 15, 16, and when I finally, took pool more seriously.
That's about what I did with trombone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I got to high school and I realized this isn't a good look.
It kind of is one of those things. You either love it and stick with it, or you sort of, nobody casually plays the trombone. You either play or you don't.
And brass instruments aren't exactly, easy to slip into any sort of band,
No,
Unless you want to be in the Mighty
anybody
Bosstones.
looking for a trombonist? Yeah, right, exactly. So, pretty normal kid. I was going to school, fucked around with my friends a little bit, that sort of thing, and then pool really took over my life. I was very into pool. I was serious about that, and from there I found poker.
Well, I don't want you to gloss over the pool aspect of it, because you got to have some great stories from back then. I heard that you were playing for up to $1,000 at just 16 years old.
I was gambling pretty young, yeah. I really kind of loved. I just loved that life. We would all get together every single night, every day.
Well, who are these people you're getting together with? They're not other 16-year-olds.
No, not. I mean, there were some. There were some good 16-year-olds who would show up. Some people you
led astray.
Yes, exactly. No, they were astray before I came around. But we'd go to the pool room every night. There were a few pool rooms in New York City that were like, the quote-unquote action rooms.
Okay.
Which means all the sort of tri-state gamblers, especially a few specific nights a week, they'd have like a weekly tournament, and all the tri-state kind of pool hustlers and rounders and gamblers would all show up at once, and it was just it was a fun atmosphere where you're trying to match up with people, make games. Match up means sort of negotiate how you're going to play.
I assume it's similar to golf, in which your handicap plays an importance.
It is very similar to golf. I think the handicapping in golf is a little more straightforward. Like if you shoot this, I shoot this. Whereas pool, it's a little more arbitrary and a very kind of hustly environment. But it was fun. And for the most part, I just loved to play. I mean, I really loved it.
So what was the play back then like in a tournament? Do you throw the tournament, look bad on purpose so you could drum up action?
I never really had that one in me, although that is a very common ploy. I kind of always tried my best, but you try to have a little gift of gab when it comes to making a game, or you don't always go out there and just try to make a completely fair game. But there's lines and sort of codes that you can or can't cross. Going out there to the tournament dumping it off. It's just, I thought about it, but it's just one of those things. I just love to play too much. I couldn't help it. I would try to win.
I imagine that once your name gets out there and the reputation gets out there, it becomes a lot more difficult to get money.
Pretty much. I mean, the pool world is it's exactly right. I mean, the guys who do the best in pool gambling kind of stay under the radar and
use fake names.
Fake names. I mean, back before before the internet, there's amazing stories of guys who would move to a town for 6 months, pretend to be like an insurance salesman, go in there, lose every weekend small, and then finally get the guy for.
Finally, the scam worked.
Exactly.
So you're playing in these tournaments. Were these organized competitions, or was it more like pool hall junkies?
A little bit of both. I've played everywhere from the U.S. Open a few times to weekly sort of tournaments in pool rooms, but they were organized. It was just varying degrees of kind of how serious the tournament was, I guess, and what the prizes were, the buy-ins. But yeah.
What about here in Vegas? Do you ever frequent the rooms around here?
I do. I kind of have fallen out of it recently, but yeah, I'm a regular in the pool rooms out here, on and off, always. It's nice. I play a lot with Jean Robert, who's a big pool buff. Loves to play.
Billiard table up there.
Loves to play. Beautiful table. I go up there sometimes. We'll knock him around. And, my very good friend of mine, John Hannigan, plays as well. He's a great pool player. He's in Los Angeles now, but when he comes to town, we saunter down there, hit some balls. It's great.
Are people around this town scared of you? Is it hard to get action here?
It's one of those things. The people that are scared of me, I'm better than, and then the people I'm scared of are quite a bit better than me.
So you're in the back of the pool halls. You're eliminated from a tournament, and there you discover poker.
That's where it happened. There was a little poker game in the back, and I was like 16, and I'd already messed around a bit at very, very close friend of mine named Steve. I was living with, and we had like a little bit of a home game, so I was kind of dabbling, but it was more just for fun. We played a bunch of like, poker games that aren't really, I don't even know if they're real games, what have you. But this was a no-limit hold'em single table tournament, and I just knew right away I wanted to play. I mean, it just looked like so much fun. Everybody was kind of shooting the shit, having fun. The way the chips sounded, the way the table looked, actually touching those nice real cards that you could bend and squeeze up. It was a lot of fun. And from there I became just absolutely obsessed with poker. I mean, really, it happened like that.
Did you see it right away as an opportunity to supplement your income? Because perhaps pool is drying up?
Not in the slightest. I mean, I just wanted to learn the ins and outs, play better. I mean, I didn't. I gave it no thought at all as far as any monetary compensation or opportunity. I just really wanted to play.
Do you remember any big wins or losses, or did you win your first time or lose?
I did actually win it was like a one table sit and go, and I won it, which I think was part of the reason I was like, this is great. The buy-in was 20.
Interesting. Everybody I interview, 90% of the people I interview, they won their first time
right.
they played.
It makes sense, because you can't really play at all. You're a beginner, and it's like one of those things when you win, it's like, oh my God, this was amazing, you know, and then you keep playing, and then you realize you're not that good, and then you either want to get better and stick with it or what have you. But I did actually win it. It was funny. There was some like kind of serious, it was in Pennsylvania at this little pool room, and there was, I could tell the guys were a little agitated. They were asking me to play heads up. I was like, heads up? I don't even know, just give me my 200 and, sorry, fellas.
Yeah, just imagine if you had lost that night. You might have never played again.
Exactly. I might not have.
I made a royal flush on my first ever game.
And here you are.
Who knows what better job I could have had. It's funny, John Robert, I asked him that question. He said he lost a lot his first time, so...
Jean Robert would say that, though, it fits with his...
He went the other way.
Yeah.
I guess he took the beating and then wanted more.
Sure.
Okay, so you're 17, 18, you're playing online. It goes well initially, or were you a frequent depositor?
It didn't... Kind of the initially process for me, I'd say, was like 16 to 18. I know you're not supposed to be playing online when you're 16, but I was doing it.
Statute of limitations
it's over. Yeah, come catch me if you can. But that was I was playing small, very small, but I was frequently losing and borrowing $25 from a friend, trying to run it up, whatever. By the time I got to 18 and I was playing a lot on Ultimate Bet, I had a really good run there for a while where I kind of ran it up and did quite well for a fairly sustained period of time. Then I hit a bit of a rough patch, partially due to that cheating scandal, unfortunately, where I remember I felt like I couldn't win. I couldn't, but partially due,
You literally couldn't win.
I literally couldn't win. I was like, I just
Not
cannot.
possible.
Yeah, I cannot win this match, man. I don't know what's going on here. But there was that, and then there was it is. It was not too funny at the time. The natural variance of things, and I had a little bit too much gamble in me at the time, for sure. So that
even in the online days.
Yeah, mostly in the online days.
It's all good. So obviously we're gonna get to the second big tournament you played, but I want to talk about the first one. What was that first 10K, and what was your bankroll at the time to be plopping down 10K with some regularity?
The first 10K was at Foxwoods tournament. I played a satellite. Had a couple. I had a.
Well, I thought you said the World Poker Finals that you won was the second one.
Oh, it was the second. Oh, the first tournament I played. Yeah, that was at the Borgata.
I'm just wondering if you felt anything like scared going in. Who was at your table?
You know, at the time I was 21, so I had a odd amount of live poker experience for a 21-year-old, because from like 18 to 21 I was just, I was in the New York poker club scene so much I could have been a chair in the room. I was just there every night, every day, kind of grinding. And
I mean, it wasn't the Mayfair Club, but was it?
It
similar?
Wasn't the Mayfair, but very similar. It was
Okay.
kind of even some of the Mayfair people would frequent these clubs. There were a couple of clubs, like two main ones. We'd go, and the New York scene is so, or was rather, I mean, very vibrant kind of scene. You gain a lot of experience, a lot of even if they're not always the best players, a lot of people who can handle themselves pretty well at the table. Live reads, kind of a little bit of trash talk, this and that. So by the time I got
Sounds like East Coast.
kind of an East Coast vibe. I mean, you know how it is. They very East Coasty. People would come down even sometimes to the New York clubs from Connecticut, Jersey, even Boston, Philly. I mean, because there were, rumored games there, and it's true. We would play like 10-25 no limit, or even 5-10 no limit, but the games would play quite big, and they were sort of juicy, if you will. So by the time I got to tournaments in Vegas, I really was very comfortable at the table. But sure, playing with famous pros or seeing them for the first time, it was interesting. It was exciting. I was nervous, but excited at the same time.
Had you seen rounders at that time?
Oh yeah.
I mean, how accurate was the backroom games, the traveling around to find a game?
I mean, somewhat accurate. I mean, it was a pretty realistic depiction, minus the absurdly overemphasized mafia Russian mob kind of. I never really never played with a Teddy KGB sorts like in that way where
Nobody had any Oreo cookie tells.
There were no Oreo cookie tells, but Rounder's pretty accurate, honestly. That life of being a New York poker grinder and trying to find games, and there were games in Queens, Brooklyn. There were games in barbershops, restaurants. I mean, that's really how it was.
Well, you said in an interview that you really never aspired to become more than just a New York pro at first.
I didn't, yeah.
I'm wondering if you wanted to be the Knish guy.
I didn't want to be Knish. I wanted to be more the guy that's like, it sounds like arrogant, but I wanted to be feared in like the New York scene. I wanted to be the best player in New York. The takeover. I wanted to take over the New York scene. And I was prideful about being the sort of the best player in New York. I'm not saying I was, but that was like a nice idea for me. It sounded like a lot of fun, and I was competitive, and I loved to play. I never thought about going to Vegas and at tournaments. I mean, if I can stay in the city, go to the pool room, grind these poker games, and sort of get my own apartment, you know what I mean? Put a little money in my pocket, I'm good. It's
A lot of ambition there.
Yeah, exactly.
Any like hairy situations in those rooms?
I've had plenty of hairy situations over the years. I mean, I would say slightly more pool hall related, but definitely I was there for some altercations. I got pretty nasty.
That you caused?
That I didn't cause the ones that I'm thinking of, but I have been in a few altercations at the table that I realized, maybe I shouldn't have said anything to this fucking guy. I mean, I've realized, like, whoa, I'm not sure what I got into here, but you learn how to, if you conduct yourself with respect in those spots, usually you're all right. But I've definitely played with some sort of unsavory characters over the years and seen my share of stuff in there. I mean, underground gambling rings kind of always bring out those sorts of situations.
Yeah. So we go to Borgata, doesn't go well, and then to Foxwoods.
Borgata, I bounced out of there early. Not sure exactly what happened, but it was just a quick day one bust out. Foxwoods, I went to kind of grind some cash games. Buddy urged me to play a satellite, or not urged me, but asked me to play when I played it. And I got the seat. My friend took half of me in the satellite, and I won the tournament. It was insane. I didn't even go there really to play the tournament. I was just going to kind of play these mixed games. And that's sort of how it went, yeah.
So I was 21 and in Vegas with my card player salary.
Yeah.
And I was excited.
Sure.
You're 21 on tour with 2.2 or 1.1, I guess half of that.
Yeah.
$1.1 million in your pocket.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
It went well. I mean, it went well for the first month or two, maybe even 3 or 4, but not good. I found a way to kind of blow through that million pretty fast, and it's just one of those things. I wish I could go back and talk to that, like Morgan Freeman in Shawshank. I wish I could go back and talk to him, but I can't. So that's kind of how it went, and life's lessons.
So how did it go, though? Was it pit gambling, sports betting?
There wasn't much pit gambling for me ever. I was always very prideful about not, dusting it off in the pit. I hate that, just for me. I mean, sports betting, yes, because there you're under the illusion that, like, you're picking winners. I mean, it's the same thing, but, I don't know. But, no, it wasn't even, it was more like an egregious kind of spending, very ambitious investing that did not go my way. A lot of staking. Did a ton of staking in the poker community. And
staking. Hear that one a lot.
Yeah, and that's just the way that staking sort of goes. It's a pretty high variance spot, and if you start kind of chasing it and don't keep an eye on it, it can get away from you, and that's sort of what happened.
I went back and watched a little bit of your final table from that event. They kind of tried to paint you right away as like the young, aggressive kid, the takeover.
Right.
Who was here to shake things up and was playing a completely new style. But from other interviews I've heard you do, it sounds to me like you were just more playing a contrarian style.
I try to really remember. I mean, I do. I don't think I am in tune with quite how aggressive I was at the time, and I know I played a bit different than a lot of the players, and I definitely was somewhat onto something for the time. Players today are so good that they make the player I was in 2005 look like a complete, sort of dated, what have you. So I don't really take it too seriously, but for the time, I was definitely hyper aggressive. I'd seen a lot of spots online. I had a lot of experience in the New York scene, and I noticed that I was almost always, without fail, the most aggressive player at the table, at whatever table I was at in a tournament, and the style was much more effective then. Even blind sort of aggression was rewarded in a way in that time. If executed...
Rocky, Gus Hansen years.
Correct. If executed accurately and with a good poker sense and some reading ability, it was really a very effective style. And that was kind of my style.
So when did you make the move from the East Coast to Vegas?
I never really actually made... Well, when I was 21, I did move here for a year, kind of that next year after that tournament. But then I've basically predominantly been in New York for the last decade, just traveling back and forth. I've only been in Vegas full-time for about a year and a half now. Before then, I would just sort of travel.
And how are you liking the shift in lifestyle?
I like Vegas a lot, honestly, now that I've gotten a little older and I kind of know sort of the things that I really like to kind of do with my time. I have a newfound appreciation for living in Vegas. I think for young people who come here, you kind of think it should be a certain way, and then you realize kind of the things you like to do and the life you like to have, and I've come to really appreciate Vegas.
A little bit more convenient of a city.
It's incredibly convenient. It can actually be very quiet, which I like. I like that you can get a nice quality meal at any hour. I like that it's a fairly health-minded city if you're inclined. A lot of gyms and this and that and what have you. It's beautiful. The weather's great. And I love to play. I got to play poker every day at the Bellagio. So I mean, fuck, man. It's nice. I really enjoy it. I'm lucky.
You did a Poker Life interview with Christy Arnett back in the day for Card Player. I think a lot of people were surprised to read about your struggles with anxiety early on.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking to you, and every experience I've had with you, you don't seem like somebody who minds being around people.
No, it's a weird thing with it. It wasn't. I kind of misspoke a little bit. It just my struggles were more with like I don't feel anxiety in that typical way. Like I don't really get anxious like in social settings or when I gamble or play. I certainly don't feel. Mm-hmm. I feel pretty calm. It was more like a manic kind of depression situation where it's sort of anxiety. You just these phrases are interchangeable. But I was more dealing with some mental health issues just in general. I think. Well, I know. I mean, I don't think, but, and I think the phrasing of it was a little, off. But that's basically what it was.
You're talking panic attacks?
Not so much textbook panic attack. I have had quite a few panic attacks, but they were more like.
I feel like panic attacks are up these days.
Yeah, panic attacks are really last season. I mean, no, I mean, I definitely have had some, but I think they were more tied into sort of. Kind of a sort of, it would be like I would feel sort of suicidal for a bit.
Oh my God!
And then I would kind of just go to the hospital to sort of just go, and I would kind of feel like I was hyperventilating and stuff. It was more tied into the kind of depression element of it than like a textbook panic attack, which people do have. I'm very empathetic towards. It's just that wasn't really what I was having. It was more the what I just described.
And my wife suffers from panic attacks, and for her it's always like a trigger of a thought.
Sure.
Like she'll be watching History Channel and she'll read about a civilization wiped out in a volcano or something.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And then she'll start thinking about like that one person who
right.
nobody remembers.
Well, your wife sounds like
significant she is.
Your wife sounds like an incredible person, by the way. That's a very sweet kind of.
The empathy is there, but it's also crippling.
It's crippling, yeah. But that is a very sweet take on the panic attack. I mean, it's not. It's more just like a general kind of malaise of the world. But a lot of these things too, we learn about our bodies and our minds, and I think some of the stuff we do in our daily life, if we have those genetic predispositions or not even, can produce some of these weird, sensations. And a panic attack in and of itself can be the body's way of protecting you. If some maniac came up to you with a knife, your adrenaline would kick in, you'd be very reactive, and you'd be looking to make a break for it, and you'd be very nervous, but yet focused, that sort of fight or flight response. So some people have anxiety issues or whatever, that they kind of get those responses at the wrong times, and you just learn about yourself and learn kind of what that means, and you can overcome a lot of that stuff.
So what keeps you even-keeled these days?
Well, depression-wise, I mean, for me, it's just big to have structure. That's a huge one for me. And
structure as a poker player, though.
Right, it's tough. You have to make your own. You really do, and you have to. You just have to carve out a life for yourself that makes sense and stay the course, even when times are really tough, knowing that in the end this behooves you. So I wake up very early in the morning. I like to go to sleep at a reasonable hour. I got this dog who's, I mean, Dino
Pure
the dog.
Fluff.
Pure fluff, and it's great for me because I wake up, I get out of the house, and I have all sorts of little projects that I'm doing just to keep myself engaged.
One thing that you are doing to keep yourself disengaged is a complete lack of social media.
Complete lack of social media, right. That's true.
You want to get a hold of Nick? Too bad. He's off the grid.
I am off the grid, yeah. I don't like social media. I just don't. I don't, It's like, yeah, I don't. I do understand it. It's just for me. I really revel in the freedom that I kind of have of not being tied into. I don't know. I'm focused. I can't explain it. I don't know. I never explain it well. It's just not for me. I really hate it.
It's exhausting.
it seems exhausting.
There's benefits. There's definitely
Certainly.
benefits, but it's exhausting.
I'm also the type of person, and this is sort of a cliche thing that people say about social media. You know, I'm not going to say what I had for breakfast. Who cares? But
What did you have for
I know,
breakfast?
right?
That was
I
my
haven't
next
had
question
breakfast
anyway.
yet. I know, yeah. But I'm just not the type of person that ever really has the desire to volunteer something about myself just to people like rant. You know, I'm always inclined to think no one gives a fuck, and it's not. It's one of those things. You stay connected to people. It's a beautiful thing. You know, people care about you. You care about them, and I get it. But it's just not my nature. It's like I don't say what I'm doing. I like to ask people what they're doing. You know, I don't really like to reveal much about what's going on with me, except for conversations with my closest friends, where you know we'll open up about everything. I sort of don't get the premise of it.
Well, who are your closest friends? I know you're big with Johnny World and.
Johnny World's a good friend of mine. My friend Ilya is, you know, one of my best friends in the
Trencher.
world. Ilya Trencher,
Yeah.
that's the one. My buddy Hirsch and Noah from New York. You know, older friends who I don't speak to as much, but are still around. And then David Oppenheim and Ray D and, you know, Mike the Hat.
Mike the Hat.
A lot of guys.
That's such a
lot
great
of guys.
poker nickname.
It is. I've become very friendly with Crazy Elior lately. He's in town grinding these mixed games. You know, got a lot of little buddies here and there. You're lucky.
Before we get to the big games, let's get to your bracelets or just tournament action in general. I mean, you got 8.6 million. You're not completely ignoring tournaments.
No, I mean, I really have for about a year now. I have not played a tournament since last World Series. Probably won't play one until the series. I'm not totally ignoring them, but it's definitely kind of fizzling out for me to becoming primarily a cash game player. My heart and soul is playing mixed games. That's kind of what I love to do. I would say it's my kind of passion right now, and it also makes the most sense for me lifestyle-wise. But one day I'd love to have, you know, in a perfect world, I mean, I'd love to have I always think of Eric Seidel as the baseline for a guy who was a great player, and then it's not that he wasn't a great player, but he was just sort of one of those great players from the old school, and then all of a sudden you look up and he's like one of the great players of the new school, and it's like, well, how the fuck did that happen? I mean, how do you accomplish that at his age, and just how do you keep your mind so flexible and adopt new ideas and new approaches? So, you know, I really have hopes that I could do that one day in no limit tournaments, and you know, I mean, I still think I can get out there and compete, but I feel myself being a little outclassed by the top guys right now, and you know, that's not why I'm not playing at all. I mean, I would still love to play, but it's one of those things that with each year that goes by where you're not in no limit tournaments, you still have to like study and take a look at how people are playing, and I do that. You have to fully commit, and I'm doing it kind of from the sidelines, like preparing, kind of laying in the cut, you know, ready to get back out there. But it just seems to me that there's just so many mixed games. It's just hard for me to pull the trigger and go to a tournament when I could just play cash. You know, I love it.
Well, you brought up Seidel and longevity. I'm wondering, you know, what your plans are for this game. In your lifetime, do you expect to be there at Doyle's age, still grinding?
You know, it's one of these things that we have to accept. We sort of don't know what poker is going to look like when I'm Doyle's age. It could be so vastly different that it's not clear, but I hope so. I don't think I have the Doyle grind in me for that long, but I hope I'm still involved in poker, and I hope that I'm putting a respectable version of myself forth, and you know, trying my best to hang in there. I mean, Doyle is amazing. That could be a once every 100 years kind of talent, and for somebody his age to do what he's doing, I mean, it's a cool thing. And the thing about Doyle that I find the most impressive is his ability to adapt frequently. I mean, 82-year-olds are generally pretty stuck in their ways, you know. I mean, they just are. And he's just...
Most 32-years.
Most 32. I mean, you're looking at one right now, you know. But But Doyle is just an incredible player. I mean, he adjusts his game, he mixes things up, and is always like a student of the game, always. And that's my goal, really. Just always be a student of this game. It's a very beautiful, complex, and misunderstood game. And if you have an idea in January, you might want to revisit it February. So that just has to be your approach, and it is. It leads to kind of massive insecurities in a way, but it's also, I think, it's just the way for me.
I think people don't realize how impressive Doyle is until they themselves age a little bit and realize how quickly things go.
That's absolutely right. I mean, even in your early 30s, you're starting to think about your life and this and all sorts of things. In your 40s and 50s, I mean, there's just, and Doyle has a family, he has kids. He was there for, and it's like it's not like he didn't have a full life. I mean, but some people just have that spark at the table, though. Some people sit down at the table and they kind of just know what's going on. And I mean, a wealth of experience. I mean, he's run plenty of simulations just at the table. Seeing so many spots, you kind of have a feel. Sometimes you want to model what your feel is and take a look at whether it's right or not. But nonetheless, I mean, his instincts are very, very good in most spots at the poker table.
It seems to me like you were kind of the first hybrid player. From the online world, kind of, but still kind of a field player. Would you say that's accurate?
I don't think I'm a...
Because you're not doing what the GTO guys are doing these days and playing strictly based on the numbers, right?
I'm trying to do quite a bit of that. I don't think I'm a field player. I mean, I think I started as a field player, but I think early on I tried to kind of be a student of the game and sort of, like I dropped out of high school, so I didn't have a great foundation in math. So when I was like 17 or 18, I just started taking probability and statistics courses just to sort of verse myself with at least the mathematics of poker. And from there, I tried to pick up fragments of game theory and psychology and sort of incorporate it into a game. But I'm very enamored by both the scientific aspects of poker and like the philosophical aspects of it and what have you. So I wouldn't say that I'm a pure field player, but I do believe very much in feel, and I think it's one of the more underrated aspects of poker, especially in today's day and age, where I think that you have such bright minds trying to figure out certain situations. Certain feel elements have fallen by the wayside and are very, very important, I
just only bring it up because I happen to watch some of the commentary of the grudge match this weekend between Mike Dentale and
I missed that grudge match. How was it?
Well, she kicked his ass.
She kicked his ass. All right,
and
Michael.
We'll just leave it at that.
I mean, everybody gets beat sometimes. You just got to pick yourself back up.
She did hold over him with the deck, but
okay.
The commentary was interesting because it was Doug Polk and Sean Deeb. Doug Polk, the robot, versus Sean Deeb, the field player.
Interesting.
And Doug was...
Nice contrast.
Yeah, Doug was basically, and there's no denying Doug's results. He's one of the best online heads-up players in the world, no doubt. But he was basically throwing feel out the window and saying live reads are garbage, don't rely on them, doesn't make any sense. I'm wondering how you feel about that these days.
I mean,
because in Bobby's room,
I don't know if
do reads even come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if that's not to say you're misquoting him. I'm sure you're not. I don't know how you could say live reads.
I probably am.
I mean, live reads are garbage in what sense? If you have an accurate live read, if you know someone is bluffing, I
think you just said it was dangerous to rely on live reads.
You need to have a strong foundation in poker theory. You need to understand kind of just the science of the game and what we're really trying to accomplish here, especially in a heads up realm where as we have seen, that computer didn't have any live reads either and beat the brightest minds in the world recently. So a lot of what Doug is saying is accurate. I think he's an amazing theorist, and I really enjoy the content that he's put out. However, if you're great at live reads, feel free to rely on them because they're stronger than than a GTO-based approach. They're stronger than a theory-based approach. If you can look at someone and kind of know, quote-unquote, where they're at, by all means, that's a massive, massive part of live poker, a very underappreciated part. And I think there's some talent involved in that. And I think that for some people, if it doesn't come that naturally to them, or it's something that they haven't gravitated towards, they don't really see exactly what they're missing because they simply don't know. And I'm not saying that applies to Doug, but I know for me, when it comes to live poker, live reads are an enormous part of my game and my approach, and it's something that has always kind of been with me. I think that something Doug sort of alluded to, though, that's very important is that can promote a lot of leaks in your game if you're not careful. You have to know when a live read supersedes what your betting patterns, or the way ranges match up, or hands that you wouldn't normally defend, or that really this is kind of a losing proposition in general. Were this online, were these two blank faces, you wouldn't want to proceed in this fashion, but you have to kind of know this live read now weighs into everything. I mean, you could have a much better feel for somebody's range based on the speed they call pre-flop, the way they glance at a flop,
how big they're smiling,
the way they look back at their cards, the huge smile on their face when that 8 of diamonds hits. I mean, whatever it is, it's a massive part of live poker, and it just is. Cannot be discounted.
Feel free to ignore this if this is a big part of your game. But my boss, Jeff, brought up something. He says he's played a few tournaments with you, and he was always very intrigued by the fact that you cut out your bets and made your bets in a completely different style every time.
It's interesting.
People don't realize Jeff's paying attention.
No, I realize Jeff is paying attention. I definitely, it's one of those things. I'm very like, I kind of like to flow out there. Like I really get sort of, I'm doing a lot of like slippery stuff at the table. I try to look weak when I'm strong. I try to look strong when I'm weak. Not only am I very enamored by the art of reading my opposition, I like to be a bit deceptive with the vibe that I'm giving out to the world. At the poker table, of course. I think it's a nice part of being a live player. Yeah. So I don't really consciously think that about doing that, but I kind of almost look at live poker as a sport, and I think sometimes some of it is strategical, and other times it's just sort of a stylistic thing where, I'll slide them in one time, cut them out, do the high toss, the flick. I don't know.
But
I just
never splash the pot.
In my club, I'll splash the pot whenever the fuck I please. No, splashing the pot is annoying.
So these are some fun ones. What's the worst bad beat you ever put on anybody?
Worst bad beat I ever put on anybody, I'll tell you right now. It was a hand online. I want to get this hand right. This was a really insane hand. The board was deuce 4-4.
Okay.
And this was back in the days where I would often randomly kind of just go all in on a paired board.
Can't call you without the trips.
Right in spots where it was very unlikely they had that 4. It was like a 3-bet pot. I happened to have jack 6 of diamonds. And the board was 4-4 deuce, all black. And I put like 180 bigs in versus aces and just bang, 6-6. It was just... It was the worst beat I ever put on somebody just because of the way they really just trapped me. It just owned me.
Yeah,
we were playing in 25-50 no limit. He was just so eager to felt like he would have put 1,000 blinds in there. I know the player quite well, and
is he broke? Is he on the streets?
No, he's doing well now.
Okay,
so
that's good. At least you didn't break him.
No, I didn't break. I think I broke him that day though. It took me. It was he definitely quit after that hand. That was the most memorable bad beat I put on someone for whatever reason.
I like it.
Yeah.
The nice runner. You could have gone Jack too.
Jack. Hey, don't forget 3-5, but nonetheless 6-6. Just
here I was robbing you of your equity. When you lost that first, $1 million, was that the toughest time in your career, or have you had worse?
No, I definitely had much worse one day. I don't want to get into too many specifics, but I played a fairly well-known banker.
Andy Beal.
Something
Morgan
like
Stanley.
Yeah, right. Me and Morgan hooked up, and
Bank of America.
had one of my more unfortunate sessions that day. So that's the most memorable. I mean, man.
I like it. What about your best degen story, but outside of poker? Are you one for big prop bets?
Not a huge prop better. I've definitely had some big, sort of on a whim kind of bets. I mean, nothing comes to mind offhand. I'd have to think about them. I've shot some very expensive free throws in my day, but nothing too crazy.
Not very clutch when it comes to free throws?
No, I'm pretty clutch on the line, I gotta say, I
remember it was a big fad with finding a hoop on tour back in the day. I think Nanad Medic was a part of it.
Nanad can shoot, man.
He's a basketball player.
Nanad can shoot. He can
played
play.
In college.
Yeah. It was up in Canada, so we don't. But he's not.
He's way too large to shoot a basketball now. I don't think
he's got so much touch though for the way. But he's so like big and thick. But he just glides around the court. He's a really good player.
I know you said you don't travel much, but what was your favorite tournament destination?
I really enjoyed Monaco just because it was such an interesting experience. It feels ridiculous to be in Monaco. It was fun and kind of just one of these absurd countries most normal people don't get a chance to go to.
That's why I hated it.
Right. I wouldn't want to go there, but I was like, wow, I'm in Monte Carlo playing poker. I mean, this is unique.
The problem is there's really not much more to do there other than gamble and show off your Lamborghini.
Correct, and I had no Lambo, so stuck to the gambling. But I haven't been around to too many of the good European destinations. I mean, I enjoyed playing in London. I remember I had some fond memories. Very good Indian food. I had a lot of Indian food in London. San Remo was nice, and as far as the States, man, I mean, I just. Nothing for me beats a tournament in Bellagio. I love the way they run it. I love that 5 levels a day. You're done at 8:30. Go get a bite to eat. So, I mean, for me, just the Bell. It's my favorite place to play.
Is there anything on your bucket list that you want to try?
A lot of the European stops. I don't know specifically, but Barcelona, Prague, all of those come to mind.
Maybe make it a vacation.
Exactly. Part poker, part vacation, for sure.
Who's the best poker player we've never heard of?
The best poker player you've never heard of? But it's got to be Mike the Hat. Michael Glick, this guy I play with in the high-stakes games. I mean, I know any poker player has heard of him.
This is Crazy Mike, right?
This is not Crazy Mike. Okay. No, he is the worst poker player everyone has heard of. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Mike, he's just a fantastic world-class player, and he doesn't really play tournaments. So a lot of people have never heard of him, but he's when it comes to the mixed games, he is just a great player.
Can you talk about the biggest pot you've ever won or lost?
Yeah, I mean, taking that match aside versus that banker where every pot was absurd, let's take normal poker games. To think about that a little bit. I know I won about a $600,000 or $700,000 pot, no limit.
Ooh.
It was actually in New York, which is, that. I mean, I don't even really know how much I can expound on that, but it was in a game in New York years ago, and that's what happened. I mean, I had kings and got it in pre-flop versus Queen 10 suited.
Pre-flop?
Versus Queen 10 suited, yes, and you could imagine the player who had that Queen 10 suited was a very creative player.
Did he call off?
No, he put that 7th bet in, but I was like, wow, it's happening. He has aces, but there's nothing we could do. I mean, I knew his range was a lot wider than it should be, but I was like,
were you able to hold it back when you saw him turn over Queen 10?
I asked him if he wanted to run it twice, and he was like, nope. And I was just like, just please start dealing the cards right now. I just want to get this over with.
You didn't even know he had Queen 10?
No, we flipped him up.
Okay.
We flipped him up. He was kind of laughing, and he was just, it was kind of, It was just one of those things. But
Did you have to sweat it?
It came 8-9 deuce. So he immediately flopped, nut outs, hit one of his suit, and the turn was a deuce. I was like, okay.
That's a little better.
Okay. And the river was a 4, and it was pretty sweet.
I like how you remembered every single card.
I remembered every card of that one. The biggest pot, one of the biggest pots I lost actually was an amazing, really an amazing thing for me. I was very tired playing 3-handed. And I had 9-7 on the button, 9-7 offsuit, and I raised the button.
What was this?
No limit hold'em.
Okay.
We were playing 2-400. I raised the button to 1200. The small blind called, and the button folded. And the small blind was a very sort of curious kind of player. And it came 9-9 deuce. He checked. I overbet the flop. There were some dynamics there, what have you. But the board on the end read 9-9 deuce 4-5. And he checked on the end, and this bet was relatively normal, corresponding to the pot size. I bet like 55,000. And he called, and I flipped over the 9-7, except I just had Jack 4 suited. I had 9-7 the previous hand, or I had Jack 3 suited rather. I don't even know what I had. I don't know if I ever looked at my cards. I was exhausted.
Like you needed a nap.
Yes, and I did call it a day there, but that was like the most memorable hand I ever lost. I flipped over the hand, and for a minute, I thought I had lost my mind, and then I kind of pieced it together. Like, okay.
What's crazy is it's not a bad line if he folds.
No, and he called with ace high, so it was. I thought I had 9-7, pal, just so you know. Yeah, exactly.
When you have your headphones on at the table, what are you listening to?
I'm a rap guy for the most part. When I play, I like to listen to gangster rap, or I'll switch it up with some like classical if I'm feeling like, just because I feel like it's supposedly good for you. I don't really enjoy it much at all, but I try to convince myself that I am, But I'm mostly like a hardcore gangster rap buff, and that's generally what I have bumping in there.
Who are your guys then?
Well, I try to keep up with the young guys. I mean, right now I'm listening to this album from this rapper 21 Savage. It's just really doing it for me. I like Schoolboy Q a lot. Lately I've been his last album or whatever just has been on kind of a repeat situation since it came out. And I like still Biggie and Pac, Enter the Foray.
Mm-hmm.
I like Method Man a lot. I like a lot of different rappers.
I've heard of some of those things you said.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, come on.
Don't want to put any pressure on you to perform your whole set, but somebody told me you're the funniest guy at the table. Is this true?
Wow. I mean, I.
And the person who said this, secondhand, talks a lot.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say who.
I don't know. That's subjective humor. I mean, it's hard to say. I'm just
okay. Well, then who are your comedy guys? What do you go to when you want to laugh?
Poker wise?
No. I just mean in pop culture. What makes you laugh?
Well, I do love stand up a lot. Mm-hmm. I love Bill Burr. Okay. I think he's just outstanding. And
East Coast guy.
Yes. I'm a massive George Carlin fan. So I still routinely revisit Carlin just because, I love George Carlin. And, Louis C.K., I mean, hey, Dave Chappelle. I mean, how can you go wrong with Dave Chappelle and all of that?
You ever had a regular job before?
Not really. I was kind of a ticket runner for a really close friend of mine worked at a company called Broadway.com, where basically you order Broadway show tickets online and then they're waiting for you at the theater. And I worked for them for a summer where I kind of delivered the tickets to the theater and sort of did some back office stuff there for a few months. It was a good experience. It was fun. I was playing online at the time also, and I kind of just started to win a few hands and was like, let me see where this goes.
I only asked that because I wonder what you would be doing if it wasn't for poker.
I wonder that sometimes myself. I really don't know. I don't think that I would have been on a like a successful career trajectory if it weren't for poker. I'm not saying I wouldn't have carved out something for myself, but I don't know what I would be doing. I could see myself doing a lot of different things, and I just think, I think life is kind of often about what you do when you're not working as opposed to when you are working, so it's hard to say. I got really, really lucky that there was money in poker. It was never about that for me. I just like to keep myself occupied with things I enjoy to do. Ironically, it becomes about the money, sadly, after you enter the world. And
yeah.
There's no complaints at all that I've made money and I have this nice life. So I don't want to, complain about it. But the truth is that some of the beauty of why you do it gets lost once you start thinking about the money. And I think if it weren't for poker, I would just try to find something I like to do and have enough money to kind of get through the day, And then, so I don't know. I have no idea. I've still just don't know what I'd be doing if it weren't for poker. But I'm sure I'd have found something.
In other sports, when you lose it, you just become a commentator.
Right.
And in poker, you have to do both.
Right.
So I want to ask you about, has anybody approached you yet about maybe doing some more commentary? Because you're honestly great at the super high roller.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, we're kind of in talks about it. And I'm just going to kind of see where it goes. But I have been approached. I have a really good relationship with one sort of producer in general, but also just all those guys over there who made that happen. They did such an amazing job from production. And, a lot of that Super High Roller Bowl really is Ali Najad. I mean, he's, as far as commentary, he's just, it's hard to explain how good he is because he's so good you almost don't realize because he just flows like that. And, he's so, but he really would just always ask me questions that instead of volunteering a point, there he is, just like reading my mind almost. He's so sharp and perceptive with it all, so it's so nice to be able to work with someone so experienced like that. Because I'm going to say
you held your own. You were very quick yourself. So
well, I try, but that experience factor and that real professionalism makes it a lot easier.
We always end the podcast with a random question that we find online with a random question generator. Yours came up. What website do you visit the most?
Oh boy, what website do I visit the most? Let's think about this. Okay. It's probably would be pinnaclesports.com, sheer curiosity, followed by, the 6 most popular porn sites. No, just kidding.
You only need one good porn site.
Yeah, you only need one. No, not a huge porn buff. I would say Pinnacle. I definitely am visiting Run It Once a lot. Give those guys a little plug, but they deserve it. I've been on Poke site lately, to be honest. Seeing what that's all about, grinding out a little here, a little there, trying to just increase my knowledge and overall wherewithal. And I love to play chess. I'm on chess.com a lot also,
Yeah, I see the chessboard out here.
There it is.
Are you a grandmaster yet?
I'm not a grandmaster yet, but
I don't know how the rankings work.
Well, there is a ranking system, and no, I'm not. But I love to play. Labor of love.
Perfect. Nick, thank you so much for
having
me here.
It was a pleasure.
In your high rise, which
yes.
makes my legs all wobbly looking out the window.
Really?
A little bit, yeah.
You're in a house?
I'm in a house 20 minutes southwest of here.
Right on.
You can see the roller coaster from here.
You can see the coaster.
That's trippy. All right, Nick, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
That was a fun one, right? Thanks again to Nick Schulman, who has no social media whatsoever for me to promote or for you to follow. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps. It really does. Let us know what you think of the show at pokerstories@cardplayer.com, and you can win a free subscription to the magazine. See you next time. Hey folks, did you know that Card Player Poker offers free, legal poker games with no deposit required, where the players can win real money? The site is giving away 6 summer poker prize packages that include a $565 buy-in to the $1 million guaranteed live event in Las Vegas starting June 2nd, 2017, along with $500 for travel expenses. Go to poker.cardplayer.com for your chance to win. Again, that's poker.cardplayer.com for your shot to win a free poker package into a $1 million guaranteed live poker tournament this summer.